All right. Well, hello again, all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching. John and Ellie of Georgia Beer Reviews back at you this evening with a special examination. Tonight, Michael and I are looking at the Founders KBS Expresso, and the title of this is, of course, KBS Expresso Examination with a Bumpy twist. That's because Bumpy is drinking a different Founders beer. He has not been able to get the Founders KBS Expresso yet. It's actually officially the release date for the Founders KBS Expresso is 2020. I got my bottle about a week ago. Michael got his bottle 4 or 5 days ago. So we got ours a little bit early. So anybody out there that might be watching that's interested in trying the KBS Expresso, don't worry. It should be making its way to stores in your area very soon if it hasn't already. So Michael and I are drinking the KBS Expresso. We'll get into that in just a second. Bumpy, why don't you tell us what you're drinking really quick?
Yeah, I got the Founders Imperial Stout, which I guess was around years ago, and they discontinued it and brought it back. So that's hope for any other beer that they might discontinue. They might bring it back later on, like the CBS. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah, it comes in at 10.5%. It's not non-barrel aged, 75 IBUs. I did do this one for the Christmas beer episode I did, and I thought it was a very, very good barrel stout. So,
all right.
That's
well, we'll go ahead and start with the Founders KBS Expresso. I'm going to crack open my bottle, give it a pour. Obviously, I've never had it. Michael's never had it. This is a first time for both of us. Obviously, we're very excited to get into this. The KBS is an outstanding beer, and this is just another take on that. A little bit from the bottle. I won't read it verbatim, but basically what they do is they take the beloved KBS that is already brewed with coffee, and then when they take it out of the barrel, they further age it on espresso beans to give it a little bit of extra oomph, is what they say on the label. So sounds very interesting. And Michael, you've already poured yours. I'm going to go ahead and pour mine up. What are you getting on the aroma there? Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about it?
This, I can just tell by the smell of it and the nose on it. If you don't like coffee, don't buy this. Because the smell, the nose on this is just straight coffee. I mean, I don't get anything else. John, give yours a sniff and see what you think.
Yeah, coffee. I wish I had a regular KBS and I could do a side-by-side. This does smell a lot like the KBS because the KBS obviously is a coffee-forward beer as well. Maybe a little bit more of like a cold brew coffee type thing going on. I always find that the aromas with cold brew coffee seem to be a little bit more intense than just your standard hot brewed coffee.
I'm not getting any of the dark malts in this at all. They're all underneath the coffee smell. And I agree with you. It's a cold brewed coffee smell.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the coffee. Maybe a little bit of like a chocolate type sweetness. But yeah, primarily coffee on the aroma. So Bumpy, what are you getting with the Imperial Stout there?
There's definitely a dark chocolate note and dark fruits coming up. Kind of like a raisin and plum. I could trick myself into saying there's coffee notes in there, but it's more along those lines of like the dark fruits. I think like fresh coffee and stuff like that, fresh bean coffee, can kind of come off with a little bit of like a dark fruit note.
I am somebody, I think, even more than John, who does like coffee stouts, though. I know John it's not his favorite style, but I do like coffee stouts if they're done well.
Well, yeah, and I like coffee stouts also. I just find that coffee is a very strong aroma and flavor, and a lot of coffee stouts, I feel like they kind of overdo it. But I guess that's just me being nitpicky because it does say right there on the label, coffee stout. So when the primary thing that you're getting is coffee, you really, it's hard to complain about it because that's what it's disclosing to you, that it's going to be very coffee forward. I just like my stouts a little bit more balanced. And this one on the aroma, it smells like a perfect coffee stout because I'm getting a lot of great coffee aromas. So I'm ready to dive into this thing.
Cheers, John.
Yeah, let's do it. Cheers. Yeah, it's a little bit more balanced on the palate. I'm getting more of the roast, not just from the coffee, but I'm getting a little bit more of the roasted barley, some dark chocolate. It's not syrupy, but there's almost, and maybe this is just because I had so much of the CBS and that mouthfeel. I'm kind of getting that with the KBS as well. Not that it has like a maple syrup flavor or anything, but the mouthfeel it's like got a thickness to it, almost a syrupiness to it. I think that's just because of how dark and how roasty toasty it is. But it does have a nice little bit of sweetness in the middle to complement those dark roasted malts. It is definitely a little bit more coffee forward than what I remember, which is the standard KBS. So this is it's like the KBS on crack because it's the standard KBS and then they further age it on the espresso bean. So you're getting even more coffee. It's not a bad, I mean, it's definitely enjoyable, but yeah, like you said, Michael, if you're not into coffee, then definitely stay away from this because it's more one-dimensional than a lot of other stouts I've had because it is such a strong coffee flavor.
And I guess on the other side, if you're a fanatic coffee drinker and also like barrel-aged things, this should be something you definitely should try because the combination is really nice. But it's heavy. In other words, the coffee element is heavy.
Right, definitely. Flacco says that we have some sexy-looking beers. Absolutely, Flacco. Get you one.
I'm glad you read that because I thought he said they're sexy-looking fellas.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably what he meant. Vanessa Kitty says espressos are yummy. Yes, Drunken One, us again. Where you at, man? You should be. I'm shocked that we haven't seen you on one of these hangouts.
What Drunken One is saying is he can't have enough of us, and
that's what he really meant. Yeah, he's very glad that we're ringing in the new year with all these great examinations and beer reviews. And Joe Pessamato up there in Massachusetts says cheers and happy New Year's, gentlemen. Cheers to you, JoJo. By the way, everybody go check out JoJo's cider reviews and more. He's got a great new channel, just started a little over a month ago, I think, and he's putting out great cider reviews. And he joins us sometimes on the Wildcard Wednesdays, and he joined for One Stout Sunday as well. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of JoJo in 2020. Thanks for stopping by, JoJo. So we're going to go ahead and let Bumpy describe his Imperial Stout.
It's
about that.
Yeah, it's a very dark chocolate, rich stout. There is some dark fruit notes. I can't really pinpoint that it's like a prune, plum, raisin, but it's kind of just, it comes off as like in that ballpark of a dark fruit. Like I said, I could trick myself and say maybe it's like a very young coffee bean. So I could say there's a coffee note in there, but there's really no coffee-esque flavors. It does state that there's supposed to be some caramel notes. I can't pick anything up really past the that really dark chocolate and dark fruit. Bit of a bitterness on the finish, but it does do well with the whole body of the stout itself. Fairly hefty mouth to this one. Good medium carbonation, so it doesn't come off super creamy and smooth because of the carbonation. But I'd say this one, for not being barrel aged, is a very good imperial stout. Like I stated earlier, if this brew itself was barrel aged, then I don't know. I mean, because the KBS, the CBS, and stuff, what that was based off of the breakfast stout, correct?
Yeah, according to the website and some other things that I've read, it's just the KBS are both bourbon barrel aged imperialized versions of the Founders Breakfast Stout, which is
a coffee stout, right?
Which is also the Founders Breakfast Stout. I don't think is a coffee stout. I think it's just an imperial stout, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I've had the Founders Breakfast Stout. Michael, can you comment on that? Do you know?
Not sure. That's the one that had the baby on the label?
The baby on the label, yeah. I don't think it's a coffee stout. I think it's just an imperial.
Well, I think most breakfast stouts end up being coffee stouts, and that's why they consider them a breakfast stout, because you have coffee in the morning.
Here we go. Right from the website, an imperial coffee stout. Yeah. The coffee lover's consummate beer, brewed with abundance of flaked oats, bitter and imported chocolate, and 2 types of coffee. This stout has an intense, fresh Java nose top with frothy cinnamon-colored head that goes forever. Yeah, so you're right, Bumpy. It is a coffee stout.
Yeah,
which makes sense because the CBS and KBS are also both coffee stouts to a certain extent. But like the CBS is not known as a coffee stout as much as the KBS. The CBS is more of the maple and the bourbon that come through, and the coffee's kind of in the background. So that's interesting. Yeah, I did not know that the breakfast stout was coffee. Honestly, I wasn't getting a lot of coffee notes from the Founders Breakfast Stout. Last time I had it, I got more of like just a heavy like roasty toastiness with that bitterness, because it's more of like I hate to use the term Russian Imperial stout for the Founders Breakfast Stout, but when I think of a Russian Imperial Stout, I think of a high bitterness level with it. And the Founders Breakfast Stout, let's see, I just had it up. It's 60 IBUs. So you're getting up there on the bitterness scale with the Founders.
But that's only what? Is that 8% alcohol?
Yeah, 8%.
So 8% alcohol, 60 IBUs.
8.3%.
Yeah, and this one's 10.5%, and this one's 75 IBUs.
Right.
So 15 IBUs.
Would you say,
more
that it's a bitter beer at all? I mean, is it more malty, more bitter?
It's got the finishing of bitterness, but you still carry on with some of that dark chocolate and stuff. I think the dark chocolate notes, they're probably using like a black patent malt and stuff like that, and this which can kind of give it that kind of charred popcorn type. So you get that, and I hate the word astringency because it's not really a flavor; it's more of a mouthfeel, right? Astringent.
Astringency. A lot of people associate, they like bitterness and astringency kind of go hand in hand, but it's more of it is kind of more of a mouthfeel, I think, than. It's not like a flavor. It's a descriptor that's used to talk about like the mouthfeel and the, I guess maybe more on the finish. You talk about like there's an astringency like on the finish, kind of like with bitterness. Yeah. But
it's like I could say this has an astringent bitterness to it because there is kind of you are left with a little bit of a fuzzy feeling that carries on with the bitterness at the finish. But it's not a harsh bitterness. There's a difference. I mean, because you can have like those, like if you go into like the IPAs that are like 100 and whatever IBUs, and you drink them, and you're like, there's no way this is 100 IBUs. Right. And you have one that's like 60 IBUs, but it tastes like god awful at the end because it's just like, tastes like you just sucked on a copper penny. I mean, so there's different hops give off different, like the alpha acids and stuff that they give off. So.
He come off differently in the. He says Bumpy is always right.
That's right. So, Michael, what were
That's right.
I was going to say, John, on the back of the bottle, it has the born on dating. What was your date?
Right. So mine was bottled on November 15th.
And mine was bottled the day before on November 14th.
And mine was bottled on November 6th.
Okay, so everything in their Grand Rapids brewery, which is the only brewery where they do bottles. They have a place.
I will say to Founders' credit, I love how they put the date plain and simple, clear as day, right there on the back of the label. I've never gotten a beer from Founders that hasn't been fresh, and it's funny because with these types of beers, they don't necessarily need to be fresh. You could sit on them for a couple of years and they would continue to develop and may even improve. But Founders always does a great job with their bottled on dates and the freshness, it seems to be pretty consistent, at least with the people that I've talked to in other states as well, that the dates for the Founders beers are usually pretty fresh. And Max Fake T40 says he gonna let that ride. Well, Bumpy's letting one of his CBS's ride for a couple of years. He's aging a CBS. I know Michael's got some really good stuff in his cellar as well. I saw that you posted something the other day, Michael, a 6-point master blend stout that looked really awesome.
Now, when
another bourbon barrel aged selection.
It's going to happen. I really believe that Georgia is going to be on the list of states that they're.
I hope so. Although I don't know if the Master Blend series will make its way down here, but
it's out now in the 18 states they sell to in 4-packs.
Right, so Bumpy's got a CBS with a sticky note on it. Says, "Don't drink me until September 2022."
Now, Bumpy, will that stop you from waiting until then, or you think you may be able to wait? Because John, I know,
because I'm going to see this and it's going to remind me not to do it.
All it takes is one drunken night, and you're running out of beer, and I don't know. See, that's why
I'm doing this for myself, because there's still plenty of it. There's still plenty of it in the stores on the shelves, so I could easily go back and buy another 4-pack. But
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about.
So Commerce Ozzy found us over here on George Beer Reviews. Thanks for tuning in. He says, "Cheers, I found it. Glad you could make it." Commerce Ozzy from Arizona.
He founders it.
He founders.
That's right. Like that. So yeah, Bumpy, since you're just joining us, of course, Michael and I are drinking the KBS Expresso, and we'll go around and give ratings here in just a second. And Bumpy did not have the KBS Expresso, but we decided to let him join anyway. He has another great beer from Founders, the Founders Imperial Stout. So,
well, the way that you guys are talking about it, I don't think I want it now.
Oh, no, I don't know. I will say, and Michael, I don't know if you'll agree with this or not. I've been sipping on it a little bit, as has Michael. The bourbon notes, even though this is definitely a coffee-forward stout, one thing that Founders does well is barrel aging. And the bourbon notes, the more I sip on this, are coming through a lot more the more that I sip on it, which really kind of balances the beer out a little bit.
I'm in agreement, but you would not like this if you didn't like coffee, because the coffee notes are very much there.
Right.
I think it's more balanced as it warms a little bit, but it still has that coffee note.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more prevalent with the coffee notes than the standard KBS and, of course, the CBS. A little bit less sweet as well, because you're not getting the maple notes like with the CBS. And, of course, the more coffee you add to something, typically the more bitter it's going to be, because coffee, when you don't, unsweetened coffee, just black roasted coffee is a very bitter product. So there's a definite bitterness with this one. I actually don't know what the IBUs are. It's such a new beer that there's really not a lot of information on it yet. I guess I could look on the website and see if it's listed yet. But literally today is the official release date for this beer, because it is a 2020 release, as stated on the bottle, even though they did distribute it out to stores a couple weeks early, I'm sure, and they just told the stores, wait till January before you put it on the shelf.
Just to show you, there are already 5 reviews on YouTube on it already.
Right. Wow. Let's see if the website has anything yet. It does. Okay. So the website, all right. So the IBUs with this are a little bit higher, 70 IBUs according to the Founders website for the for the KBS Expresso. 12% alcohol. The availability is January, February, and then it does say December on the website. So I guess they give it to some of these stores and they're like, maybe you release it a little early and see what kind of reception it gets. That's interesting. Directly from the website, it says available January, February, and December.
So they're not as touchy as the Goose Island people, who don't let anything.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking Goose Island is very strict.
Because if anybody breaks that, they try to cut them off. And I've heard of stories where they have cut people off.
cut off their fingers and throw them in the ocean.
So they say that's it for you. You defied Black Friday. Now we'll pay you back and not give you any Goose Island. And then they say on the side to John, it's more than 14% anyway, so we have to cut you guys in Georgia out too.
One thing about this too, I was mentioning the bourbon notes are coming through a little bit more. I am picking up a little bit more on the chocolate as well. One thing about this beer, as well as the regular KBS and the CBS, a lot of times when you drink stouts, you get chocolate flavors from the roasted malt. This, in addition to having coffee added to it, they actually do add chocolate to this beer as well. As stated right on the label, it says ale brewed with chocolate and coffee aged in bourbon barrels. So in addition to the chocolate flavors from the roast, they actually do add chocolate to this beer. And I feel like that's kind of starting to come through a little bit more as I sip it down.
I'm getting it as well. I think this is a very balanced beer too, even though if you don't like coffee, stay away from it.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Kawasaki is in Michigan. The other guy was from Arizona, Sandy Beach, or that guy that was on Ron's screen. So Kawasaki is in Michigan, and he says that he had a CBS that was aged over 2 years, and you think it was better than it was when he first tried it. You know what? I think that when you age beers like this, they do tend to get better with the coffee stouts in particular, because this is such a fresh bottling. Coffee, such a strong flavor and aroma. As you age a beer like this, the coffee would kind of mellow out a little bit, and the bourbon notes, the barrel presence, would probably come through a little bit more. So it'd probably be even better if you were to sell it for a couple of years, because the bourbon notes and that it would round it out a little bit and be a little bit more balanced than this fresh version that we're drinking right now. So I'm ready for a rating.
Okay.
I'm going to go 90.
I have room open for Bumpy's rating as well.
Yeah. I'm going to go, actually, you know what? I'm going to go 97. It's not quite an A+, because the balance is a little bit off for me, but it is a coffee stout. So if you're a big coffee guy, you probably give this a 98 or 99, but I'm going to go with a 97 out of 100. It's a solid A. It's definitely getting up there towards world class. It probably is world class for a coffee stout, but because I like my stouts a little bit more on the malty side, a little bit more balanced, I would much rather have the CBS than this, because it's got more of the sweetness, more of that malt presence, and less of the coffee. But that's definitely not a knock on this beer. It's an excellent, bordering on world-class, if not a world-class coffee stout. And the bourbon notes are really nice with this. If you like bourbon barrel-aged beers, there's really not a lot of companies that do it better than Founders. So that's my thoughts on it.
Well, John, I'm going up the extra point to 98, and maybe that's because I'm a coffee stout lover, and I really think they've done a really good job with this.
And Drunken One, you would absolutely love this beer because it is coffee, and bourbon. Coffee and bourbon. So you'd love it. All right. So Bumpy, what are you thinking about the Imperial Stout non-barrel aged beer that you get?
Well, if I didn't do the Left Hand Brewing Company's Wake Up Dead just a little bit ago, I would have given this a higher score, but I think that they're pretty much equally matched as far as the flavors and stuff go. So I'm going to land this right with the same score I gave the Wake Up Dead, a 92.
Okay.
Out of 100.
92? Okay.
Yeah. I think on the Christmas thing, I was thinking more like it was probably like a 94, 95. But drop it down to a 92.
You know, it might be interesting, even though they can't do this anymore because supposedly they stopped making the CBS. How about if they made a CBS espresso where you had the maple also?
Yeah, I think that would be good. I would probably prefer a CBS version to this because the maple barrels and the maple syrup notes that you get would sweeten it a little bit to counteract the bitterness. Because 70 IBUs, that's pretty intense, and a lot of that's not necessarily, it's not coming from the hop so much as it is from the coffee. I'm definitely getting the coffee bitterness with this, but yeah, I mean, this is a coffee lover's dream in beer form right here. Absolutely.
I think for the CBS, if they did something like if they like aged it on blueberries, like a blueberry I don't know. I don't want to use the word extract, but if you get the crushed blueberry syrup crap and aged it with that, because then it's like blueberry syrup's a real thing, especially around the New England parts. So
it's funny you mentioned that. One of the beers that I gave a perfect 100 out of 100 was the 2017 Goose Island Bourbon County Stout Northwood Stout Edition, which was obviously the Bourbon County Stout, but it had blueberry puree and almond extract.
That's what I was looking for. Puree. I'm saying all this other crap. Yeah, the puree.
So that one I gave a perfect 100 out of 100. So I would absolutely say that if you put a little bit of blueberry or even raspberry puree in that beer, it would probably definitely improve it. So let's see. Any more comments? I think we're pretty much caught up on the comments. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This was kind of just the spur-of-the-moment thing. I was so excited that I was able to get the KBS Expresso as soon as I was, because it is on the bottle. It's a 2020 release. Most places don't have it yet. There's only a few reviews on YouTube, so it's just now kind of coming into the market, and people are starting to find out about it. So I was very excited that I got to try it, and of course, I'm very glad I got to share a bottle with Michael Kormaroff, because we always enjoy doing this type of thing, and Bumpy as well. That even though you didn't have the KBS Expresso, you had another winner from Founders, which I will pick up a 4-pack of that probably sometime next week when I'm in Peachtree City, just based off of your review and your rating of it.
It's very, very reasonably priced too. So
right, yeah, Founders. That's one thing. I mean, even the super, like the barrel aged stuff, the limited release, limited edition, super hard to find. Although not in most areas, but here. Even their more expensive stuff is still pretty reasonable compared to some of these other craft beers that you run across. I mean, you look at the Goose Island, for instance, the one that I had, the Cafe de Olla, which is it's not a true bomber. It's only a 16.9 ounce bottle for $21.99 versus an entire 4-pack of something like this for $21.99. So.
Yep, I concur. And remember, they came from CBS in the bomber bottles until this year, where it was like up to $26 for that bottle in 2018. But they've decided now to do 4-packs, which definitely seem to be more reasonably priced, for sure.
Right.
And especially when you get into the big beers, it sucks when you have a 22-ounce bomber or something like that. It's like
you need a friend. You can't do it. So. I mean, there are people who do it by themselves. It's not a good idea, though.
Ronnie asked if Chris is going to take part. I don't think Chris is coming back down to
drink. He did come down and taste. He did come down and taste it, and he said it was amazing.
Did he make any comments before he?
I muted myself for a second. He came down and tasted it, but they're leaving.
What did he say about it? Did he like it?
He said it was amazing.
Okay. Ronnie S. also says, "Yo, I'm still drunk from last night and have to work tomorrow. I'd like to sleep in." Okay.
So what happened last night? Was there a beer thing last night?
I think maybe it just means from just the New Year's Eve, just staying up late and drinking. Maybe, I don't know. Well, he was drinking earlier too because he was watching Alex's New Year's batch, and then he joined off air. We were hanging out for a little while, although I didn't stay on for too much longer after we went off air. After buying KBS and CBS, it makes you think that the others are inexpensive. Well, it depends on. Heck, I bought a 4-pack of Prairie Bomb just to put this into into reference a little bit better. The Prairie, which is out of Oklahoma, great craft brewery. They make good stuff. Michael actually recommended the Prairie Bomb to me, and I went out and I bought a 4-pack. I mean, I don't mind spending money for good craft beer.
That's more expensive.
The 4-pack of the 12-ounce bottles of the Prairie Bomb, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was $36.99.
Yeah, it's more expensive. They have it at the food court.
I mean, that's about So
$10.99 for this 12-ounce bottle
just for one bottle.
So there you go. It does get a lot more expensive, and typically, Commerce Ozzy, what I find is that the quality doesn't necessarily match up to the price. Not to say that the Prairie beers are not getting up there towards world class for what they are, but I could get something like this, the Founders beers, or even the Bourbon County. I mean, it's a lot cheaper than that, and the quality of those is just as good, if not better, than that. So you're paying about what, $10-12 less for the 4-packs, if not more than that, depending on whether or not you're buying the bottle, the bombers, or the 4-packs, or whatever the configuration is. The per ounce difference is pretty significant. So Founders is actually relatively cheap compared to other craft breweries, is what I'm trying to say. I think.
Okay, now talking about good values, and I know you guys can get this.
These doesn't get better than the Lagunitas for the value. Was it $4.99, $5.99?
$4.99 for this 22-ounce bottle.
For a 22-ounce bomber, a great product. And what's the alcohol on it? It's no slump chump in the alcohol.
9.9, almost 10%.
So yeah, exactly.
So and you can, and Lagunitas, you either like them or you don't, but they make a quality product.
I like their stuff. I like their stuff when it's fresh.
Yeah, but a stout wouldn't matter as much on their IPA. Yeah. I agree with Bumpy. You have to.
Yeah. Now Lagunitas is one of those companies. They're known more for their hoppy beers, their IPAs. They're really hoppy, because they originate out of Petaluma, California. A lot of fresh hops out there. Then they have another brewery in Chicago, Illinois, and then they didn't sell out completely, but they partnered with, was it Constellation? I can't even remember.
Constellation was Ballast Point.
Was it InBev?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, regardless of who it was,
I think it was Sapporo or something like that.
Sapporo or Heineken.
Yeah. Okay. Heineken. Yeah, that's right. It's a Heineken International. Yeah. So they partnered with Heineken or sold part of their stock to Heineken. So anyway, they didn't sell out completely, but they did. It's not what it used to be as far as the ownership, but they still only have the breweries out in Petaluma, California, Chicago, Illinois. They have some of the best hoppy beers that I've ever had. I'm not a huge West Coast IPA guy, but the exception to that for me is Lagunitas. I've had their Hop Stupid. I've had their regular IPA. I've had a lot of Lagunitas beers, and they've all been
the Maximus.
Excellent. What's that?
The Maximus.
The Maximus, I've had that. They have a black IPA called Nighttime IPA. They have Daytime IPA. They have a ton. They have a Cappuccino Stout, which is like 9.5%. That's a coffee stout that is pretty much world class, and you can buy a 22-ounce bomber for $4.99. So it doesn't get much better for bang for your buck than Lagunitas. Anyway, I feel like I get all excited about.
Well, they make a quality products. It's not like you're getting something that's like complete crap for.
And we're doing Founders tonight. John knows about this because I told him when I bought it. This is their new Civilized Brute IPA, which just came out.
Huh.
Bumpy, have you seen this?
Actually, I have. 15. I should have bought it. They had 15 packs going for $13.99.
It's a well-priced beer, if nothing else. I paid $1.53 for a can in a 6-pack. But the point of this being, and I'll give you my opinion, do you like dryness in your IPA? Because this is very dry.
Well, yeah, that was the reason why I probably didn't pick it up, because it was a 15-pack, and I haven't actually had a brewed IPA I've liked yet. So
the finish is extremely dry. I like dry IPAs, so to me I thought it was really good. But if you don't like dryness in the style, you're not going to like it. And I'm going to be using this next Thursday when my group gets together a week from tomorrow, and we'll see what they think. But it's really fresh. It was, let me see, I looked at the can. It was brewed on the 11th of December. So that we're talking about 2 weeks ago. And that's pretty fresh to get Founders.
Oh, yeah. And that's interesting. I thought kind of the brute style, the brute IPAs were kind of dying down a little bit. Didn't think it would make it. You've got your New England IPAs, which are obviously here to stay. The brute IPAs were another one of those interesting new takes on an IPA that were kind of everywhere for a while, and they kind of died down a little bit. So it's good to see that Founders is putting out their version of it. I would, if I had to, venture a guess, I would say that the Founders would probably be the best brewed IPA out there, because I've only had a few brewed IPAs, and they're kind of, hit or miss, but for the most part, they're just so-so. So if anybody could do a good brewed IPA, I would say Founders.
If you don't mind dryness, the rest of it is really good. The finish is really dry.
Right. Well, and it's because it's supposed to have that champagne finish. Like they use if I'm not mistaken, they use the champagne yeast in there to kind of give it an extra dryness and more of a champagne-like quality than your traditional IPA.
And I did like it, but it depends on the person's taste. If they don't like dryness, they're not going to like it.
I think it depends on the hops they use, the schedule, and like what they shot for like an IBU. Because with the dry finish, you're going to be left with that bitterness kind of lingering a little bit longer in your tongue too.
This one was 6% with 45 IBUs, so it's not a high IBU kind of thing, but you could taste some of the bitterness too, as well as the dryness, but not heavy bitterness, kind of like medium bitterness. But it's
the ones I had that like after I was finished drinking, it was just kind of like, you get that like very dry palate, and you're just like the bitterness was like super harsh. It was like the wrong hops used.
I wouldn't buy a 15-pack to try it, Bumpy. But if you get, if you see it, a 6-pack, I only bought a 6-pack. I'll never try something, with a lot of volume, because I don't want to get stuck with it. But how bad?
Well, I did their watermelon one. They had a watermelon goza. I think it was like green zebra or something like that. They called it.
The Founders Green Zebra, yeah.
How was it? You like it?
I didn't really like it at first, but then it grew on me. It's very, very sweet.
I wish I had tried it because I saw it everywhere, and I never picked up a 6-pack.
Pretty much, if you take like a watermelon Jolly Rancher, and you put that in your mouth, and then you take just a little pinch of salt, and then you continue to suck on the Jolly Rancher afterwards. That's kind of what it was like.
Okay.
That's interesting in a beer. That's not what you normally get.
I think fruit flavors and gozas just go hand in hand. I mean, because you get the tartness and that little kick from the lactobacillus, and then when you pair that with the natural acidity and tartness that you get from fruit, I mean, it's hard to go wrong with something like that. Really quick, I wanted to go back to the chat. Commerce Ozzy, just to put this in perspective for us. Wrong comment. So he says $6 a bottle is typically his limit. Everybody's got a different threshold for what they're willing to pay for different beers. So $6. So yeah, Lagunitas is a great value. And he says that he recently had the Lagunitas Cappuccino Stout Bomber for $4.99, and it's 9.1%. Yeah. So one thing you didn't mention, Commerce Ozzy, did you like it? Did you think it was an excellent beer? I definitely did. I thought it was an excellent coffee stout. And it's hard to beat that price. Ronnie S says, huh? And then he goes.
It looks like he just gave you a little square there. Yeah. There's nothing.
And he says, malt liquor. And then Drunken One says, maybe you should get some rest, Ronnie. Yeah, I'm starting to think Drunken One is right. Okay, so.
I was going to say before we close it out.
Yeah, go ahead.
To you in a text, and obviously Jesse didn't hear this. In my food co-op, they had the Goose Island Bourbon County Mon Cherie, which is another one different from the one John did, which is their cherry version. And again, it was in the same price range. I think it was a little bit more. Did I say it was $23 or 22 and change?
I think it's probably very $22.99 or $20. Probably the same price that I paid for the Cafe de Hoy. All of the variants are like right around that $20 mark.
And Bumpy, the variants to me are not worth the price. And I've decided that personally. I mean, I'd rather have.
Well, believe me, I would have much rather had the standard Bourbon County when we did our examination, Michael, but we all know the law in Georgia prohibits anything over 14% to be sold.
What I'm saying is, since I have access to both, I would rather have 2 of the regular variety for 22.
Absolutely.
Own Cherie. It's a personal thing. I just feel it's a better value. And it's not like at 11, it's cheap. It's still, priced to go. I guess people buy it, so it's obviously going to sell.
Right. Oh, it sells real fast. That's the thing. Because they bring it out on Black Friday. I don't go out on Black Friday. I'm not leaving the house. So by the time I end up venturing to the store, there is nothing left on the shelves.
I guess I'm at an advantage because in the food co-op, they don't get it at the beginning, but they get it by the second week. So already in December, they had it. And I didn't buy any until last Saturday. I bought just one. And I still have, I think I told this to John as well, I still have quite a bit of the 2017 left. We did that one when you did yours. I did a 2017. I have more of it. And I'm more likely to drink that to get that down a little. I bought 8 in 2017. I probably still have 4 left. I have to count. But 3 or 4 for sure. And I think I'm going to save the 2019 that I just brought for at least a little while.
It's cool too if you live in an area where you don't have these crazy alcohol laws like here in Georgia. I was looking, and I don't know if we mentioned this live on the Bourbon County examination, but on the website they actually they sell it in a vertical. You can buy the Bourbon County 2017, 18, and 19 vertical collection. I don't know what it costs, but you can buy.
I think you told me it's about $40.
Okay, so I mean, I'd be willing to pay that if I could get my hands on something like that.
Well, then you're picking up 3 years in a row, and you didn't have to actually go out and get them every year,
right?
Which is definitely
To me, it's worth a little bit. It's worth a little bit more money, and most people that don't know a lot about craft beer and stuff, they're like, "Well, it's old; it should be less." But really, in reality, with beers like this, as you age them, they get better. And I'd be willing to pay a little bit more for something like that. That's been aged for that's been cellared for me for 2 or 3 years, that I don't have to look at it every day. Bumpy, if I was a betting man, I would say that there's no way that CBS makes it to 2022.
Yeah. I'll probably just end up sticking it on a regular bottle or something else and be like, "Whoa, it changed!"
Hey!
Right. Well, it's in your fridge. That's a problem. I think the key to successfully cellaring beer is like you actually have to have a room or a space dedicated to aging beer, because like with me and you, it seems like, well, my space would be my fridge. I don't really have a space in my apartment. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. It's a pretty good size apartment, but I don't have a dedicated space to age and cellar beer in. And every time I open my fridge, or even if I were to put it somewhere else, it would always be staring me in the face. And so it would have to be kind of like out of sight, out of mind type of thing for me to be able to successfully do something like that.
Yeah, the most success I had now was a home brew, so it was a little bit easier to do. And this was back when I was bottling. I actually did a bunch of 22-ounce bottles of a barley wine that I did. So I think I had like 12 total or something bottles that I ended up doing. And I stuck them down in this. I have like a little drawer thing right here, and I had space, so I just stashed a bunch of them, and I would like give some out for gifts and stuff like that. And I thought they were all gone, and I was looking for some, getting my brewing stuff out, because I also put some brewing stuff down there, and I happened upon a bottle I thought was empty. It was 2 years old. My barley wine I had done.
So by you not knowing it was there,
not knowing it was there, I thought they were all gone.
You would have drank it before that.
Yeah.
So incidentally, it wasn't.
And it was fantastic after 2 years.
See,
when it was fresh, it was like,
That's a good thing. So sometimes you get a break by not being able to know how many you have. That's good. What I was going to say, as far as Bumpy goes, and probably as far as you go too, John, I'm at a big advantage here because I'm in a big metropolitan area, which means I have Whole Foods, I have this place, Wegmans. So we have all these places that get a lot of the Bourbon County. So there's still plenty of it here. You have no problem buying the stout or the Moncherie or the one that you had. And I think you can get there's the old barley wine now is a wheat wine. There was another one released in this series this year as well. You can get that as well. Most of them are over 14% though. I think the only one that's less is
well, the barley wine is over 14%. I didn't get that in Georgia. I got that when I went down to New Orleans and visited Jay. When I went to Louisiana.
But the one you did get was less than that. Was 13 and a half.
Cafe d'Oya, the one that we did for the examination on my channel about a week ago. Yeah, that was 13.5%.
But New Hampshire doesn't have the laws, Bumpy. If you did see a variant that you're willing to pay for, you could get it. But they don't really mass distribute.
Well, I did that. I did that last year because I mean they were all off the shelf. So I think that one of the stores I just happened to go to. Maybe the guy had it. Maybe he was saving it for somebody, and that person never showed up, so he ended up putting it back on the shelf. But I found the Midnight Orange one. It was $24.99 for the bottle, but I did buy it, and I was like, eh.
Did you find there was? Did you think it tasted like cherry?
I know it didn't taste like orange. I didn't pick up on any orange notes.
Because I got to taste that only because Doug, my friend, bought it, and then we were sorry. He said he was sorry. I mean, he's never sorry. He goes for it. He's willing. He's always willing to spend the money. He doesn't care. But he said, "Hey, this tastes like cherry," and I said, "I agree with you."
Isn't that the one they turned into that Mo Cherry one that you're talking about?
Maybe. I didn't buy the Mo Cherry, but maybe. Look, it's almost to me.
Maybe they had the leftover Midnight Orange and they just relabeled it as the
they're like everybody says it tastes like cherry. Let's just call it this now.
Put it out again. They're all quality. It's just how can they charge twice as much if it's not twice as good?
Right. And they're all less alcohol. Well, most of them are less alcohol than the original too, because you have the additives, so it kind of dilutes it somewhat because you're.
Yeah, I think. I mean, for the most part, I mean, a lot of the. I mean, they're doing like actual fruits and stuff like that. Yeah, aging stuff on fruits and things or adding fruits can get expensive if you have to add. Because I mean, you're not doing like a little homebrew scale. You're doing. Yeah, so like maybe 1,000 pound worth of fruit or whatever that they're going to end up using. That's going to cost some extra money. So I can see a little bit of a price thing, but I think it's more just a gimmick. They know that people are going to buy all these different variants, so they're just like,
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
there are some that never show up except in Chicago, like the Proprietors doesn't get out of Chicago for whatever reason. They maybe make less. I don't know what the deal is.
No.
Some ones don't get out.
There's one that is going to be more money because it is a variant that if you do see, you should definitely check it out. We went over this the other day when we were looking at the Goose Island. On the website, it goes through all of them. The Proprietors blend, I guess, is one that you can only get there, but they have a double barrel edition. So you basically just take the Bourbon County stat. So it's the same ABV, same everything. Well, maybe the ABV is a little bit higher because they double barrel it, so it gets a little bit more of the alcohol. But they have a double barrel Bourbon County Stout. So if you see that one, I don't care how much. I mean,
that one's actually extra
$22 a bottle. I would highly urge you to.
Okay, isn't that one aged? That one's aged in the barrels for 2 years, isn't it? It's a year apiece in each barrel.
I guess I don't know what the regular Bourbon County Stout is aged for, how long, but
I think they just do 1 year.
I want to say it's 8 months, not a year, but maybe it is a year. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you double the time in the barrel. You're gonna get some more complexity. You're gonna get more bourbon, more barrel notes, and obviously, I'm sure the ABV is probably slightly higher as well. But that to me, if there was one variant that I really wish I could get my hands on, that would be it. But it's obviously going to be way over 14% ABV. So, and the same guy we were talking about from Arizona was down on Goose Island, Bourbon County for whatever reason. It could be InBev. It could be he has other issues with it. But, yeah, I don't know. But again,
I think in the comments that Sandy Shores, I think it was something like that, said that it just tastes like really sweet molasses.
I mean, to each his own with the taste. I find for the most part on their products, it's all world class. I have never had a Goose Island Bourbon County that was lacking for flavor, other than the one last year that was not. And it wasn't lacking in flavor; it just didn't taste like what you were expecting. Like what telling you, it tasted like cherry instead of orange. You know.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was bad. I just wouldn't
Right.
pay $23 for it.
Right.
Well, that's something like what Ron Terrio was talking about, like when people have a beer that they really don't care for and they try to give it a score, when it's really a style that they just don't like, whether or not the beer was hitting the style and it was very well made. If it's just notes that the person doesn't care for, then they're probably not going to score it very high.
Right.
But I mean, I've had that issue with like very light beers. It was like,
well, and that's fine.
It's like there's nothing wrong with the beer, but it just tastes like seltzer water with a little bit of like fruit notes added to it, which is kind of what the beer was probably going towards, because it was only 3.5% alcohol. But it's like, it's just so light. It needs more flavor.
Before, John, we're talking about Founders beers being basically fresh. The only one that I've had which wasn't fresh was their Devil Dancer, which was their triple IPA, and I had it, and it was old, and I bought it. It was on sale, and I bought it old. I knew that what I was getting was a malt bomb. I knew it was going to be a barley wine to me, but I was still willing to do it, and that's what it was. All the hops had faded.
I wish, and that's interesting, because that's one of the few Founders beers that I've actually bought as well that was old. This is back when I lived in Columbus, Georgia, long before I started my channel. I did buy one of the Devil Dancers, and I didn't realize it at the time. This is before I was even really looking at dates and stuff. I just drank the beer thinking this is a triple IPA, and I remember being like, this is strange because it's a malt. It's very malty, and it doesn't have a hop presence and a bitterness to it. And then later I realized that I had a 2-year-old bottle.
Now, if you like barley wines, that was excellent, because
of course I liked it, because I would much rather have a barley wine than a triple IPA.
It was really nice, but their intention, if it was fresh, would have been that the hops and the malts would have joined, and it would have been much better. It was a 12%er though, which was a triple, and you would have wanted it to have the hops to be king, and they weren't.
Right.
Does Jeremy Benson actually have the? Does he actually have the KBS Espresso?
I doubt it. Yeah, Jeremy, if you have the KBS Expresso, hop on here real quick. Give us a quick assessment. But yeah, we're about to take this thing offline here. I'll give you a minute for.
He's saying he missed another one. Was that his original comment, or he said it again?
I think he just means he missed it. Like he didn't want. Like he's just now getting on here to watch it, and we're almost.
Well, the last time he left a comment like that was he was like, "I have that one. I could have joined."
Right. That was the. That was something recently.
Stout Sunday, maybe. I'm not sure.
Well, I didn't do Stout Sunday. No, it was one of the ones I did. Oh, it was the Bourbon County. He had a Bourbon County Stout in his collection.
Last time you and I did the Bourbon County together.
This is the first video that I posted since the Bourbon County Stout examination, because I've been sick, which, by the way, anybody out there that's still watching, I do apologize for not posting content on my channel. I've been very sick, and I'm just now, getting back into the swing of things. So I will be posting some reviews coming up in the next couple of days.
John, you sound better today than you did the last time you were on with me when you were.
Yeah, no, I'm much better. I can breathe. I can taste, which I could taste. I could taste the Bourbon County Stout. I was just getting sick when we did the Bourbon County Stout thing. But then the next 3 to 4 days after that, it got worse, and then I lost my sense of smell, taste. I couldn't drink. I didn't have an appetite. I was pretty miserable. I didn't have a fever. I was still working. So I was
you can tell because if you look at your go on your shirt, it's kind of faded a little bit. Your go is starting to fade.
It's designed like that. Yeah. but yeah. Anyway. Right. Commerce Ozzy says he resisted opening his last KBS Expresso and can keep aging it. So Commerce Ozzy is actually able to get a 4-pack of the Founders KBS Expresso. You're a very lucky man, Commerce Ozzy.
Oh, wait. Before we do that other Craig, let me see if I can find this. We need to do that girl that goes around going, "How dare you!"
How dare you? I'm not sure who you're talking about.
The Swedish girl that's like the person of the year through Times Magazine because she's like
Oh, the one who's
All about
the environment.
the environment one. How dare you?
I don't know,
All
but
you
Craig
do is
Swin-
sit back and talk about your iconic growth. How my childhood
Craig
is
Swinson says
ruined.
Greta. Who's Greta?
Yeah.
Is that it?
That one, Greta.
This is the one who Trump had the big tweet battle with, where he got really.
Oh,
He thought he wanted to be Man of the Year or on the cover of some magazine, and she got it. He was upset.
wow.
And it
Commerce
shows how politics. Oh, Ozzy has 2 4-packs. I'm
Wow.
impressed.
Man, that's awesome. I could only buy 2 bottles, Ozzy, because they because it was early, they didn't have it on the shelves yet, but they allocate things here in my area, so they won't let you. They have bottle limits for all these beers, like the Bourbon County and the KBS and CBS. Everything's allocated, so I can only get so much of it.
I think once it does come out, and I think it will come out in larger amounts, you will be able to get more of it. I mean, I would be surprised because they do release a lot of it.
So, guys, why don't we'll go ahead. We're going on an hour here. We'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. So 97 out of 100 for me. Michael gave his a 98, and Bumpy gave his Founders Imperial Stout a 92 out of 100. So all excellent beers. When the KBS Expresso does make it to your area, we definitely recommend that you pick it up and check it out. But if you don't like coffee, don't buy it. But it is listed as a coffee stout, an espresso stout. So, I mean, you kind of know what you're getting into when you buy this type of product anyway. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to everybody in the chat for commenting. We had some really great comments tonight. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for everybody watching. We really appreciate it. Thanks to Michael Kornroff from Brooklyn, New York for joining, and thanks to Bumpy Road Brewery, who has a great YouTube channel. Go check them out, Bumpy Road Brewery on YouTube. Does great beer reviews, and now he's really getting into the fancy editing and stuff. He's trying to.
I just got a notification that you're live, John. I just got a notification.
Wow. Okay.
We've been live 57 minutes and 18 seconds.
Wow, that's good to know. Okay. So anyway, thanks guys for joining. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Hope everybody has a great new year. And until next time, everybody. Cheers.
Everybody.